In the last stream, we were working on finally renovating and upgrading our Applied Energistics 2 system. We set up this room over here, and now we finally have a plethora of auto-crafting slots available to us. And so now, going forward, if we ever want to teach our AE2 system how to craft something, all we need to do is head on over to the pattern encoding terminal, make sure that the pattern encoding terminal actually has at least one pattern inside of it. Now we can request patterns are made for us. If we have glass, which we don't, that is one thing that I would like to look at fixing right at the start of today's stream. But before we get to that, let me put, we don't have any. We have no glass. Okay, real quick, if we head on over to our Material Stoneworks factory, we should be able to snag a little bit of glass, place that glass into our rainbow furnace, and once we have the actual glass in the system, which we should be able to automate by setting the top here to output, or at least to input and output, and then we'll turn auto output on by clicking the orange arrow. At that point, anything that's smelted is automatically placed back in the system. So now, if we try that once more, can we request 32 patterns? We can, and start. We can then take those patterns, place them into the pattern encoding terminal, and now going forward, if there is a recipe that we want to teach, we can just go ahead, encode it, place it into one of our many molecular assembler pattern providers, and the system will then be able to make those for us. Now, between streams, I've done a little bit of work, mostly on base building. I've finished up the ring here, but I haven't quite finished the entire bit of decor. I haven't put down any of the framed pillars or simulation blocks or feet to the rest of the base, so this is kind of just floating for the time being, but I did manage to get all of the rooms complete, so all the dimensions are there, and all of the workable space is ready to go. This area here is probably going to need a little bit of a rework, because right now this door, not the easiest to access, but all of the space is here and ready for us to use should we need it. And speaking of which, the thing that I think we want to work on in today's stream is space, that being the outer space quest line. We unlocked this in the last stream, mostly just by ticking the simulated space quest over in the progression line, but now that we have access to this quest line, we can start working towards getting ourselves our first rocket, and I'm hoping that we might be able to get potentially all 3 rockets in today's stream and use those to get ourselves a Dash ingot, an Ostrom ingot, and a Calorite ingot. The reason for that is that we need those 3 ingots in order to be able to unlock this final quest line here, the End of File quest, which is the last quest line in the game, with the last quest being the finished program, which is the ultimate goal. This is what we are now working towards, but to get there, we do have to take a brief detour into outer space. Now, before we get started on space, I want to fix that glass problem, and I think the way that we fix the glass problem is by getting more Material Stoneworks factories. Essentially what I'm thinking here, if we get a few more Material Stoneworks factories, maybe 3, I'm thinking of putting them down over here in a line with some storage drawers on top of them. The reason that I want to put them over here is I want to be able to connect the storage drawers that are going to hold the products of the Stoneworks factory. I want those connected to our main storage drawer network so that we don't have to use any additional Applied Energistics 2 channels to connect those storage drawers to the system. So real quick, let's see if we can't craft up 3 more Material Stoneworks factories, which shouldn't be too difficult. We are going to need more plastic. Again, thankfully, we do have plastic being passively made over here, so let's just quickly go ahead and do something like this, craft up a ton of dry rubber, and then go ahead and drop that in our new rainbow furnace. Boom. That's going to get us a ton of plastic to work with. We then need quite a few golden gears. Again, I'm going to make 4 of these. We might only need 2 or 3, but if we have 4 of them ready to go, we can always put down more of them in the future should we need them. So we'll get 4 furnaces. We'll also get 4 diamond pickaxes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, along with 4 regular old crafting tables, which the system does know how to make, but sometimes it is faster to still craft things manually. Even if we could have had the system craft 4 crafting tables for us, I think it would have taken longer for us to request it than to just make them ourselves. And now we need 4 pink slime balls. Those are the easier of the 2 things that are remaining here, because all we need to do is grab 4 glass pins, drop those into the dissolution chamber, and eventually that should work. Real quick, what I am going to do here, I'm going to set this to extract as well, and I'm going to put a pipe upgrade into one of these two connections so that we can pull more than 256 redstone flux per tick out of this flux point. That's going to allow us to speed the dissolution chamber up with the time in a bottle without it running out of power and resetting its progression. Now, real quick, we're taking a lot of detours here, but I think we should teach the system how to make the pipe upgrades. That way we don't have to keep manually making these every single time we want one. So we'll just go encode. Don't forget, we do have more patterns in the system that we requested earlier. Let's encode all 4 of these. And then while we're here, I'm also going to go ahead and teach our system how to make these flux points as well, because this is also something that we spend a lot of time crafting, and I don't really think that we need to spend so much time crafting these. I will also teach the system how to make blaze powder from blaze rods, so that if we don't have any blaze rods for the Eyes of Ender, it can make those manually as well. Once we have all of those in, do we have what it takes? Start and start. We totally do. Fantastic. And just like that, boom, we have a brand new netherite pipe upgrade, which means going forward, we don't have to keep stealing that one that we have over by our mob farm anytime we want to extract quickly from a pre-existing pipe. So now, if we do this by shift right clicking, this can now pull 131,072 redstone flux per tick, a very specific number there. But in here, we should be able to speed this up and then put the glass panes in, and it makes it much, much faster. Nice. So next up is 4 of these advanced machine frames. That requires 4 pity machine frames, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can then upgrade those to the next tier, the simple machine frame, and then finally up to the advanced machine frame. And there we go. Once we have the 4 advanced machine frames, we should be able to craft those very easily into 4 material stoneworks factories. Nice. So now, over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stoneworks factories down like this, and we'll grab some more drawers to go above here. The idea being that over in here, for example, we can have this drawer making an infinite amount of glass for us so that going forward, we don't have to keep manually making glass. To do that, all we have to do is have the system produce cobblestone. It then needs to break that down into gravel, break the gravel into sand, and then smelt the sand into glass, and then do nothing for the 4th portion of the craft here, and that should be good to go. We'll once again put down a flux point on the bottom, like so, and we can connect the one next to it there up with a regular old item pipe. I do think that 256 redstone flux per tick is going to be more than enough for the stoneworks factory here. Then water, lava, and boom, we now have infinite glass being made for us continually. All we need to do is make sure that I believe the red slot here is set to push at the top, and that way, as soon as the glass is made, it should get pushed up into this drawer. Nice. We're then going to do the exact same thing here with the next stoneworks factory. We're going to get another drawer, place that down like so, and then this time, I think we want to go cobble to gravel, gravel to sand, and then sand to silicon, is it? I think if we just break down the sand one more time, we should get silicon. Yeah, just 3 lots of the crushing. So here we just want to go crush, 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 and nothing. And again, if we get some lava and some water, boom and boom, this should now do the exact same thing as this, but instead of producing infinite glass, it's going to produce infinite silicon. And again, the reason I've put this here is that we should be able to connect these drawers to this drawer system fairly easily. So the drawer controller has a 25 by 25 by 25 block range or cube that it works within. And the drawer controller is right at the center of that 25 by 25 by 25 cube. Basically, what that means is that you can go 12 blocks in each direction before you would need like another drawer controller or a separate drawer network. So for us, that means we can go somewhere out into the middle of the hallway here. Basically, these drawers are within range of that drawer controller, and so we just need to connect these drawers to these drawers. There are 2 ways you can do this. We could put randomly 3 more storage drawers here, here, and here on top of the flux controller, and that would connect those up, but thankfully, the storage drawer mod adds what is known as trim. The trim is super easy to make, especially the custom stuff, which is what we want. And then the trim is super useful in that, much like the regular drawers, you can go ahead and color it with simulation blocks, like so. In this case, we want it to look like our white simulation block, because now if we make 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and actually we want 5 now that I think about it, because we also want 1 more to go on the corner there. So boom and boom. And then now we can break this block here. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these basically count as storage drawers as far as the drawer controller is concerned. And so that's going to connect these two to the system because the trim connects here, goes around, and then the drawer for skeleton skulls connects to the glass. You'll know it's working because there is a skeleton skull in here. That is the mob farm trying to deposit more items into the system. The reason that has happened is that I didn't set this here to push, like so. Now, I'm going to temporarily break this just so that the system doesn't try and put something else in there, because I think that the importing that we're doing from the mob farm is probably faster than the Material Stoneworks factory trying to push up. So real quick, take out the skulls, grab our draw key, make sure that both of these are locked, and now if we reconnect that with the trim, we have access to an infinite amount of glass, or at least a backlog of 2048 glass, but it will be infinitely replenished whenever we use it, which is super nice. We also have the silicon as well, which means going forward, we don't have to rely on the system smelting nether quartz in order to make more silicon. Now that that's taken care of, let's pivot over and see about getting into the outer space questline. So we need to work towards getting a NASA workbench, because the NASA workbench is how we make rockets. The rockets here are made in the NASA workbench, and thankfully, they don't seem too difficult to make. The most important ingredient by the looks of it is just steel. We need a lot of steel to make the compressor. It needs steel to make the compressed steel. We need steel to make the NASA workbench. We need steel. And by the looks of it, a lot of the rockets just require some kind of steel, and then usually some of the resource that you get from the previous planet. So to get the tier 3 rocket, you need the Ostrom, which you get by using a tier 2 rocket to go to Mars. So we need a lot of steel. If we need a lot of steel, I think our best bet is going to be Mekanism. We have a lot of iron. We have a fair amount of coal. And so if we just drop a bunch of coal into the enriching factory, the infusing factory, like so, we can then drop in a bunch of iron. That's going to auto spread and begin getting us enriched iron. I will make this a little bit faster here. We can then take all that enriched iron and do the exact same thing again, get 3 more stacks of coal, drop all of that in, and turn all that enriched iron into steel dust. And once we have 3 stacks of steel dust, we can put all of those into the rainbow furnace, and boom, we have 3 stacks of steel. Nice. So let's see if we have what it takes to make this compressor. It does require a machine frame from thermal expansion, which was previously very difficult to make, or at least a bit of a pain to make, because we had to go through this recipe sequence using the deployers from Create. But as luck would have it, we did actually make the induction smelter, which might be in the system. Never mind, it is up here on the wall. Let's go ahead and take that down, and we'll place it on the line of machines over here. So we'll just grab some more energy pipe and then do something like this and like this. And so now going forward, if we want to make more machine frame, it's just as simple as dropping in a block of steel, a tin gear, and an iron plate into our induction smelter. So tin gear-wise, we actually can't craft it. Again, we do have to use either the multi-servo press or the smeltery. The smeltery here is full of molten glass because, I don't think I mentioned it, but the clear glass that we're using here is from Tinker's Construct. The way that you make clear glass, which is just like regular glass, but is clear, you basically just put sand into the smeltery and then pull that out in block form. I've accidentally pulled out a block of cobalt here. That is completely fine, but if you pull out the glass in block form, it comes out as clear glass. Either way, let's grab some tin. We'll go ahead and put quite a bit in here. I'll put like a 4 stack in if we can, and then we'll pull those out in gear form using our gear cast. We'll drop that down over here. All right, so 10 tin gears later and 15 iron sheets later, we should be able to go boom, boom, and if we quickly take some of the steel that we made previously and make a couple of blocks of steel here, we can drop those in, and that's going to slowly but surely, with the help of our time in a bottle here, produces a couple of machine frames. I don't think we're going to need a ton of these, but I've made a few extra just in case. So now, back to the compressor. Do we have what it takes to make this guy? We do. We just need 2 hammers, which thankfully are super easy. And boom, there is our compressor. This here is going to allow us to make compressed steel. Compressed steel can also be made with the metal press. And just as soon as the quest disappears here, yeah, we can make it with the metal press, the multi-servo press, and the compressor. Given that we have the compressor, I feel like we might as well just go ahead and do something like this. That's going to start receiving power. And now, if we take, let's say, a stack of steel and drop that in here. That's going to slowly but surely begin making us steel. You know the gist. We can then do something like this. Make sure that is a lot faster than it was by default. And so long as we don't run out of power, we should begin to very quickly get all of the steel plates that we're going to need. Good stuff. From there, the NASA workbench is actually super easy to make. We just need a redstone torch. And you know what? Let's go ahead and have our system craft that crafting table for us. Boom. And let's put this down, I think, over here, maybe? Boom. Yeah, I like that. This can be like our space room. We might end up moving this because what I might do is we might actually launch our rockets from in here. And if I'm not mistaken, I've not played with the Beyond Earth mod specifically before, but it looks like a Galacticraft recreation. And so I'm assuming that there is a launch pad that we use to actually launch the rocket. And I might end up putting that here in the middle and maybe cutting a hole in the roof to allow us to launch a rocket out of the building and up into space. I think that's how how NASA recommends doing it. They launch all their rockets from inside buildings. Either way, do we have what it takes to actually make the rocket? Again, I think we do. My next question is, does the NASA workbench hold items if I leave it? It does. Nice. Cool. So we have all of the compressed steel. That's easy enough. Let's go ahead and see if we have what it takes to make the rest of the items here. So the nose cone is steel with a compressed steel and a redstone torch. We'll make a bunch of redstone torches here just in case we need more. You know what? Let's make a stack. We've got basically infinite redstone. That gets us the nose cone. We'll drop that in at the top. We then need 4 of these rocket fins, which, you guessed it, are more steel with some iron plates and some steel plates. We can get iron plates, I think, now using the compressor as well. I don't think we have to go through create, but let me test that theory. Never mind, you cannot make iron plates with the compressor. It is apparently maybe a steel-only machine. That's fine, we can do something like this. And can I do this? I can, nice, look at that. I like that the animation just stops after a certain point. Does it even work? It doesn't work. It sounds like it's working. But it's not actually doing anything. Okay. Okay, well, we'll leave it at 4x. I don't know how fast we can go before it stops working, but this is fine. I'll leave the stack on here and we'll come back should we need more iron plates in the future. Let's see. Do we have what it takes now to make the 4 rocket fins? I think we do. You make 2 at a time, which is also very nice indeed. Boom. And let's drop all 4 of those in here, preferably in the 4 designated slots. And then next up, we need 1 steel engine, which does require a engine fan, easy enough, along with an engine frame, also surprisingly easy considering this is a space-bearing rocket. Boom. And the last 2 things we need are steel tanks, which are also nice and easy. Boom. Look at that. Who knew that making a rocket was so straightforward? I love the new crafting sound and animation from the NASA workbench. That is fantastic. So we'll move this into the corner like that, because I think we're going to put our launch pad in the center of this room here. So again, it doesn't mention anything in the quest book here, but I'm fairly certain that we need 9 of these. You do make them in sets of 9, which is very handy. And then if we put these down like this, I think as soon as we put the 9th one down, yeah, you'll know it's worked when that middle one raises up just a smidge. From there, we can right-click our rocket onto the launch pad. Look at the size of this thing. It's massive. Boom. That's going to prepare our rocket for takeoff. Now, the only things we need are a spacesuit and some oxygen to make sure that once we get into space, we can still breathe. And then, of course, the final thing is fuel. We need some fuel to actually get this guy off the ground. So let's go ahead and bookmark the oxygen loader and the fuel loader and the oxygen can as well. I don't know, there used to be multiple sizes of oxygen can, although it looks like in this mod there was just the one. That's fine. The spacesuit looks fairly easy to make here. It requires yet more iron plates, an iron helmet, and a glass for the actual helmet itself. That is not going to be a problem. And we probably will look at upgrading basically the entirety of our suit to the netherite version, which is new. This didn't used to be a thing in Galacticraft of old, but then again, that was before netherite was part of the game. Let's go and quickly see if we have some iron sheets over here. We totally do. Fantastic. Let's use those to make our oxygen mask. we can then see about making the spacesuit. This one is a little bit more expensive. It requires 2 oxygen tanks, which require some red wool. I did see quite a few of these recipes requiring wool in some way, shape, or form, so we'll make like a stack of white wool here, and then do we have the beetroots required to make some red dye? We do not, but we have the red dye required. That is completely fine as well. Let's just go ahead and craft that up with some wool. We can then craft up 2 oxygen tanks. Boom. And what are we missing? We're missing nothing. It's just that all of our iron sheets are in our inventory. That's fine. And at that point, we just need an oxygen gear. Again, iron, steel, and iron nuggets. Boom. There is our spacesuit. Then we need the pants. Super easy. Iron plates and wool. I don't know if I'd want my pants to be made out of iron plates, but if I was going to space, I might think differently. And look at that. We have a full spacesuit ready to go. I do love the texture of this thing. I think it looks fantastic. Now, let's see if we can upgrade that to netherite. I think it is as easy as crafting the smithing table, like so, and then just crafting each one of these with a netherite ingot. So oxygen mask plus netherite ingot gets you netherite oxygen mask, spacesuit gets you netherite spacesuit, leggings gets you space pants, and the space boots gets you netherite space boots. Nice. There we go. Beautiful. So now I believe we are not only protected, but we have the ability to breathe in space as well, as soon as we get an oxygen tank that we fill up with oxygen. So let's see if we can't get that oxygen collector, the oxygen loader. This does require another machine frame. Thankfully, we did make extra. We do need 3 more red wool, but we are out of red dye. And so once again, it's time for the temp pad. We'll take a quick trip back to spawn. And then we can use our shifting capabilities on the beetroot here. You love to see it. At which point we can do a quick /home. Craft those down into red dye. And that should be all we need to get ourselves the 3 remaining red wool. 1, 2, 3. And by extension, that should be everything for the oxygen tank and the oxygen loader. Nice. So I'm not quite sure how this works. We have air over here, and we have oxygen over here. And we've got an energy bar on the right. Do I just need to hook this up to power? So this is new to me, but I'm being told by the Twitch chat that we have to put water into here and that we can transform water into oxygen. Let me give that a test. If we grab a bucket here and quickly go and grab some water from our sink, I'm being told we can then put that into the minus sign here. That's going to then put the water in the loader and begin turning it into oxygen. Nice. That is pretty straightforward. So then we need an oxygen can, which is incredibly easy, at which point I assume we can put that into the plus sign, and that's going to start filling up that oxygen can with oxygen. Nice. Okay, so in that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to request a flux point. The system can make them. That is good news. And then I'm just going to temporarily move this, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently, move this over into here, because then we can just put this down. Actually, we didn't even need the flux point because there is power here. But if we just put this down like that, that's going to fill up with water. We can then put this in here, and that's going to slowly but surely fill up with oxygen. Nice. Okay, cool. So I assume there's a curio slot for this. There is. So we can just stick this into our curio slot. Probably body, I would assume, but maybe head. And that's going to give us oxygen while we're in space. And so while that charges up, the only thing left to do is get fuel into the rocket. Now, the mod itself recommends the use of Beyond Earth vehicle fuel, which is makeable, but is a little tricky. If we type in fuel here, it is this one right here. And this one is makeable. You do have to refine it from regular oil, either using the fuel refinery from Beyond Earth or the fractionating still from thermal expansion. And oil in this pack we could get potentially with the fluid laser from industrial foregoing. However, the Twitch chat is telling me that the biofuel from industrial foregoing works in the rocket, and the biofuel here is significantly easier to make. For this, all we have to do is put something like sweet berries, or even easier, saplings, into the bioreactor from industrial foregoing, and this will transform a sapling into 80 millibuckets of biofuel. And if you remember right back to the start of the series, we can actually just craft our encrypted matter, this stuff right here, into saplings. So we have essentially an infinite amount of fuel available to us there. The only thing that we need is the fuel loader, which, as you may have guessed from the previous crafts, is super easy for us to do. I do think we're probably going to need some kind of fluid pipe. Oh, okay, so apparently this does work. It doesn't look like it connects, but if you show working area, I assume that this will fill any rocket within its working area. That's an odd way for a fuel loader to work, but I'm not going to complain about it. I like the way that's going. Let's see if we can make the bioreactor. This requires a diamond gear, along with 2 bricks, 2 slime balls, and a pity machine frame. The pity machine frame, the easiest of all the machine frames, which means the only thing we're missing is some bricks. Easy peasy. Once we have those, that's everything for the bioreactor. And once we have the bioreactor, it should be as easy as placing this down. Again, I assume we could put it down next to the fuel loader here and set one of the sides to push, but alternatively, we can just put the bioreactor one away and use a fluid pipe. The reason for that is that that's going to allow us to more quickly extract than the bioreactor can push, if that makes sense. So if we just drop these in, grab the flux point that we made earlier and then didn't end up using, we can connect this up to our network, and that should begin producing the biofuel. So it turns out this does require water in order to work. Let me quickly go, and for now I'm just going to steal the sink that we have because we're not going to need a ton of fuel, and once we're done with space, we can come and put this back over here. The water over here is also not needed for any critical infrastructure. So let's go ahead and do something like this and like this. That's going to allow us to pump an infinite amount of water into here, and that should start slowly but surely taking our oak saplings and transforming them into biofuel. Now, I am being told that you can put more items in here from the list here to get a better efficiency. Right now, our efficiency is only 11%. If we were to put something like this red dye in, that's going to increase it to 22%. And then if we were to add even more stuff, that would increase it further. I don't know if we can put in like a different kind of sapling, because the saplings are kind of all under one box here. So I don't think additional saplings is really going to do anything. But head-wise, we should have, I think, quite a lot of mob heads over in our mob drop chest, because we do have the beheading upgrade on our mob masher. And so if we take our stack of creeper heads here, we can go and drop those over in the bioreactor. And that's going to, again, further increase our efficiency rates. And we can see we are slowly but surely getting fuel. Now, I can't help but notice... Oh, no, it's full. Look at that. The rocket is completely full. I was going to say I can't help but notice that the fuel's not going anywhere, but that is completely wrong because it is going in the rocket. So now, let's go ahead and get rid of some of the glass up here so that we don't end up breaking the roof when we leave. I don't know quite how big of a hole we're going to need. I think the 3x3 here would get the job done, but just to be extra safe, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of a 5x5 area. And just to make it look a little nicer, I think we'll also then replace the next ring of glass with some simulated gray block. Okay, so this should now be good to go. Let's go and check in on our oxygen tank, which I believe should be fully full on oxygen. It is indeed. I also am being told that I can put up to 48,000 millibuckets of oxygen in the spacesuit itself, which is also fantastic. Let's put you in over there. So we can hold a ton of oxygen. I don't know if we're going to quite need that much oxygen for a short trip to space, because really we only need to find one dash ingot. The dash ingot doesn't actually have... Actually, that's not true. The dash ingot doesn't have many uses, but it is required to make the tier 2 rocket. To make this, we do need 6 compressed dash, which is just 6 dash ingots, along with a dash tank. We need 2 of these, so that's 8 more, taking our total to 14. And then we need the dash engine, which requires another 3. So I think 17 dash ingots is what we're after. We'll try and shoot for about 20, but I think 17 is the number we need. For now, I'm happy with an extra 6,000 millibuckets. I think this is completely fine. And as chat has rightfully pointed out, we can use the tempad to teleport back home and back to space if we just put a waypoint down once we get there. So let's go ahead and clear out our inventory. And I think, chat, that we are ready to go to space. I am going to fill up my pickaxe, and by fill up I mean repair my pickaxe before we go, because it's possible we might have to do a little bit of mining to get all of the dash that we're going to need. All right, and once our pickaxe here is sufficiently refilled, I believe all we have to do is enter the rocket with a right click, We can then F5 to get a better view here. And then I think if we hit spacebar, we're going to actually begin our ascent. That triggers a countdown. I think at any point now we could leave and cancel the countdown. But once we hit 0, we're off. It's a little wobbly. It doesn't scream confidence. But I'm sure it's fine. All right, and here we are. We're in space. So I'm pretty sure that the solar system we're after is Sun, and then we want Earth, I think, because I'm assuming that Moon is inside Earth. It is, and then Moon. All right. Our rocket, oh gosh, that's real trippy. Our rocket has transformed into a landing pad of some persuasion. I can't help but notice that there is no moon. You can hold space, there we go, to slow down your descent. If you don't hold space, you'll fall too fast, and if you fall too fast, you will hit the ground too fast, and if you hit the ground too fast, you will die. So make sure you hold space for a nice, soft landing, at which point, press shift, and we're out. Look at that, lovely. So this is the moon. Let's go ahead and quickly run program, new location, the moon, and then in brackets, pretty cheesy, close brackets, add location. Fantastic. So now we're looking for dash. Now, I'm not entirely certain where it is we're going to find dash. It's possible that the dash is just an ore that we find underground somewhere. It's also possible there might be special structures on the moon that we have to find in order to acquire the dash. All right, here is some dash ore. We found it right down at Y level 15, so it's pretty low down. That did give me 3 raw dash. Now, given that it's just an ore that you can find, I think our best course of action here is going to be to head back home with the temp pad. We should do a slash home here because the temp pad does have a cooldown, and we are going to want to use the temp pad momentarily to get back to the moon. You can see that we lost 1% of our oxygen there. That's not too bad. But now that we're back here, we should be able to grab our quarry out of the mining dimension. And if we take this over to the moon, we can use our filter to scan specifically. We might as well also take our ender chest, I guess. But we can scan specifically for dash ore. So once again, run program, the moon, pretty cheesy, teleport, let's head on through. And then now, let's see if we can't get the quarry here up and running. So we'll put down the builder. It seems to me that the dash is pretty low down. So I think what we'll do, we're currently at Y level 101. I'll set this to maybe like 20 tall. We'll also set it to maybe like 64 by 64 for the radius, and we don't need to do any kind of offset. We'll just set this to like negative 90. That should scan basically the bottom 20 blocks of the world, or some of the bottom 20 blocks of the world. It's not going to go quite down to 0. But if we do that, and then if we use our filter here, we can get rid of the emerald filter. That didn't work. We can go add tag. We can type in dash. And if we go beyond Earth, dash ore is what we're after. So I think forged ores dash will work. That is the ore we're after. Let's drop that in like so. Let's drop down our lever as well. Let's this time drop a flux point so we can pull our power from the overworld and give it a go. We'll give it a gentle nudge with our time in a bottle. And this is working as intended. Look at that. We have 34, 37, 40. We needed less than 20. So we're good to go on the raw dash. In fact, we might as well go ahead and cut this little experience here short. The dash is not required for any other recipe after we get the tier 2 rocket. And so we can do a quick slash home. That is the moon taken care of. And so next up is a very similar process, but we just need to use the dash. So we can make the dash simply by smelting the raw dash here. Can we get more than 1 ingot per dash? It looks like the answer is no, not that we necessarily need it. So let's just go ahead and drop all of that raw dash into the system, at which point we can head back over to our trusty NASA workbench and see if we have what it takes to make the tier 2 rocket. We'll bookmark that. And just to be proactive here, we'll also bookmark the tier 3 rocket as well. We are going to need that fairly shortly to get ourselves some of the calorite here, which again is required in order to progress. So the tier 2 rocket again needs the same things in terms of the rocket nose, the rocket fins, and then this time 2 buckets. But then it also needs some compressed dash. So for that, once again, we can head on over to our compressor, drop in, let's say 12 dash, give that a quick bit of acceleration. Fantastic. We'll then craft up another nose, like so, along with 2 more rocket fins. Fantastic. That's going to go here and here. Do we have 2 buckets? We totally do. Fantastic. We'll take 2 of those as well. Those can go here and here. The dash plates go in like that. And then now all we need to do is craft up the tier 2 dash specific items, those being the 2 dash tanks, 1 and 2, along with the dash engine, which does require another engine fan and another one of the engine frames. At which point we have almost everything. We need 1 dash plate. The dash plate we can make using the hammer that we made earlier. This hammer was required for crafting, but didn't actually get used in the craft. So we can just take one of our dash ingots, craft that. That gets the dash plate. We can then use the dash plate to make the dash engine. And then if we combine this with the 2 dash tanks, we get the tier 2 rocket. That makes me jump every time it happens. Let's place that on here. That should start slowly but surely filling up with fuel. We do have a backlog here. If we give that a quick time in a bottle, that should hopefully start to fill up just a little bit faster. And there we go. That is completely full. And so now I think we can basically do the exact same thing here, but this time we're going to go and we're going to scan for Ostrom. Once again, we hit Sun and we hit Mars. So previously, it was because I had F1 off, like I had the overlay off, that's why I couldn't see this warning. You can see your speed at the top there. If you let go of spacebar, that speed goes up. If you hold spacebar, that speed goes down. If you press F3, we can see that we're at Y level 300-ish and descending. So we can let go of spacebar a bit and start to descend a little faster. You just want to make sure that before you hit the ground, you're going a nice, slow speed to make sure that you don't explode. Once we land, we can go ahead and shift to dismount. And look at that. That definitely is, that's a weird sun. But again, I'm going to assume that the setup here is broadly the same. We put down the builder, we put down the ender chest, we put down the flux point, we change the card in here. Actually, the card in here can maybe stay the same. What Y level are we at? We're at 104 again. So let's just change this from dash to Ostrom, was it? Ostrom is correct. So forge, ores, Ostrom. Drop that in, turn it on using the lever. Give it a little bit of an acceleration. Chat is reminding me I do want to set the tempad location here. Run program, new location, Mars. And there we go. We have got our first bits of raw Ostrom. I assume that the recipe here is broadly the same in that, yeah, we need another 6 Ostrom for the Ostrom plate or the compressed Ostrom. We then need, 2 more here to make the Ostrom engine. Again, bizarrely, we need another dash plate there. That's interesting. And then the Ostrom tank requires 4 more. So again, less than 20 are required. We have 9. And I assume that if we, again, speed this up just a smidge, we should get to the 20 that we need fairly quickly. So we actually didn't get 20 from our initial area. That's fine. We can just go ahead and push this like forward by 64 blocks, and then we can scan a new area and see if that gets us the remaining 10 that we need. All right, there we go. So we did have to adjust the settings a little bit here. You can, in fact, see the Y levels that these ores spawn at in JEI, much like regular ores. And so you can see here that Y level 0 is basically the peak. So I just moved our scannable area down by another 10 blocks so that we were scanning Y level 0 specifically, just a little bit above and below Y level 0. And boom, we got 44 of the Ostrom. And so now you get the idea, chat. All we need to do is pick up all of this stuff once again, do a quick /home, and now we're going to repeat the exact same process for the next planet, which in this case is Venus. Interesting. Okay. The process here is broadly the same. We're going to put our Ostrom into the Rainbow Furnace. We're then going to take some of that Ostrom. We're going to run that through the compressor. We're going to accelerate that so that it does it nice and quickly. And then once we have 6 of those, we can put it in the rocket. Let's unbookmark the tier 2 rocket. Let's make another rocket nose. I'm hoping we have enough steel for all of this. Let's make 2 more rocket fins. Let's make 2 more iron buckets. We'll also craft up 2 Ostrom tanks, along with an Ostrom engine, which again requires an engine fan, along with the other item whose name I keep forgetting, it's the engine frame. And finally, we need one more dash plate, which we can do with the hammer. That gets us the Ostrom engine. The Ostrom engine's done. Over here, all of the compressed Ostrom is also done. And so I think back here, we are basically good to go. Let's put all of these in. Let's put in the nose. We'll put in the fins. We'll stick in the engine along with the buckets and the tank. Boom. We are getting a little low on oxygen. We're at 6%, but I think it's probably fine. We had 12% when we went to the moon for the first time, so I think this should be okay. As you can see, our fuel is full. Fantastic. And so, once again, let's head on through to Venus. And there we go, our third and final landing of the day. Here we are on the planet Venus. Let's drop down our builder. Let's drop down our ender chest, our flux point, our lever. This time, let's swap this. First of all, let's check the calorite ingots ore level. This spawns at, again, Y level 0, so we don't need to change anything. Let's get the temp pad out, run program, new location, Venus. I'm your Venus, add location. And then let's do just a change on the filter here. We're going to change it from Ostrom to calorite. Good stuff. Drop that back in. Flick the lever. Break was cancelled. It looks like this one potentially can't be mined with the builder. It says break was cancelled. In that case, we're probably going to have to dig for it manually, which is not a huge problem, but I am cognizant of the fact that we're a little bit low on oxygen. We do need to be down at Y level 0. Now, thankfully, we can go and use FTB Ultimine to create a small mining tunnel here, and that's going to allow us to very quickly descend down to Y level 0. Once we get around Y level 0, we can then switch to small tunnel, and then if we just mine these small tunnels like this, we are going to have to keep a hawkish eye out for the Venus. I don't know if you can put torches down here. I feel like people told me I couldn't. Real quick, let me do a /home, and let me grab some torches. The torches might not work due to the lack of oxygen, would be my guess, but it's possible that even if the torches don't work, that glowstone might work. So if we get a few blocks of glowstone, it's possible that we could use this instead to light our way. Oh, redstone torches work. Okay, that's fine. There we go. All right, there's our first little batch. Make sure we swap that back to shapeless. That's 8. So I actually, I think we need 1 ingot. I'm going to do a /home again real quick here, because I think there is a quest to make the tier 4 rocket, but I don't think we need it. I think we smelt the raw calcite into calcite ingots, and I think completing that quest unlocks the ability for us to take this quest here. It does, at which point we've now unlocked the end of file questline. So it's a little bit anticlimactic, but that is all we need space for. We just needed to go to space to be able to unlock this final questline here, and now we can actually just start working on progressing through to the finished quest here. So in order to craft this, we need the ultimate crafting table. This one right here. The ultimate crafting table is made by crafting first all of the previous crafting tables. So if we head on through to here, it might be well worth teaching our system some of these recipes. First up is luminescence. The luminescence is easy enough to make, but I think we are going to need a fair amount of it. So I will once again teach the system here, just in case we need a large amount of it, which I think we'll need a fair amount of it. And so teaching our system that easy enough. Then let's just go ahead and request some. One will do for now. And then we have to work our way through the basic, advanced, elite, and ultimate crafting tables. So if I type in crafting table, preferably into JEI here, the first crafting table here requires a block of iron, 2 crafting tables, 1 black iron slate, 4 basic components, and 1 basic catalyst. The black iron slate is the foundation of all the other recipes here. The basic component requires the black iron slate with iron and luminescence, and then the basic catalyst requires 4 basic components with a black iron ingot. The black iron ingot is what you use to make the black iron slate, and the black iron ingot can be made in the induction smelter with iron and black dye. And in our scenario, black dye can be made from titanium oxide, which we have been getting by breaking down smooth basalt. Real quick, I am going to teach it all the recipes here, because to make the advanced crafting table, you need 2 of the previous, and then to make the elite, you need 2 of the previous again, and then to make the ultimate, you need 2 of the previous. So we need to make a lot of basic crafting tables, and that's kind of the perfect scenario for our automated crafting system. If we just go ahead and teach it how to make all 4 of these, and then if we teach it how to make all of the catalysts and components, basically all of these guys here, we can do that by typing in catalyst and then just shift clicking in the basic, the advanced, the elite, and the ultimate. We can then do the same but with components, basic, advanced, elite, and ultimate. And if we drop all of those into one of these molecular assemblers, now the only thing we need to do is teach our system how to make the black iron slates and how to make the black iron. Although I might just go ahead and bulk craft the black iron, because I think that's going to be easier, and I don't think we're going to need a ton more of it going forward. So let's go through to the nether and see if we can't find some more basalt to break down. It's blackstone that we're after, not basalt. Basalt would also work, but blackstone is the one that's readily available to us. And in fact, we do have a ton of blackstone in the system ready to go. This has got a 1/3 chance of producing titanium oxide. So if we just speed this up a little bit, we should be able to hopefully very quickly get a large amount of titanium oxide here. Again, the only trouble is finding space for all of these. I do still plan to set up a periodic table of elements, chat, never fear. That will be done at some point in the next couple of episodes. So we're almost certainly going to need more titanium oxide here. Yeah, 100%. That gets us a little bit of black dye, which we can then use with our iron ingots over in the induction smelter to make a few black iron ingots. But I have a feeling that we're going to need quite a lot of these. Real quick, if we type in crafting table and we request the ultimate crafting table, it'll tell us how many we need. So we need 285 black iron ingots, and we also need 16 ender pearls. We have 10, we're missing 6. We still don't have the chipset for ender pearls. However, we do still have the Amadron tablet, and so I'm fairly certain that we should be able to find some deal here that is going to work in our favor to allow us to purchase emeralds. I don't know if we have mushrooms en masse. We do. Look at that. Fantastic. Okay, so we can trade 10 mushrooms for 1 emerald, and we can do that 12 times. This is perfect. Let's drop a ton of mushrooms over into here, and then let's complete a couple of trades here. So I would like as many as you're willing to give me. Place order. And there we go. There are our 12 emeralds ready to go. Love to see it. So back up here, we now just need to get enough black iron ingots, because we have everything else required to make the table. And we also need a block of diamond and a block of emerald. That's fine. We have those. Our system just doesn't know how to craft them. So it turns out that it's going to take quite a while to get all of the black dye with titanium oxide. It is doable, but it's a little slow. Also, it turns out you can take coal and drop coal into the crushing wheels from Create, and those will break down into black dye. You can actually get 2 black dye per coal that you put in, and you have a chance to get some grey dye as well. And look at that, it is so fast. You love to see it. Basically, all I've done here is I've temporarily removed a few of the create items that we had here previously so that we can connect our crushing wheels up to the rotational speed controller to make the crushing wheels nice and fast. And then from there, we can just do 1, 2, and you know what? Let's go ahead and get a third stack of coal as well. 3, and you know what? We'll do 4. There we go. 4 stacks of coal. That should get us a ton of black dye, which is going to allow us to get multiple stacks of black iron over in the induction furnace, at which point we should have everything that we need for that ultimate crafting table. Alright, and not too long later, as soon as we have 38 more black iron ingots, we can drop those into the system, and that is everything that we need to make ourselves the ultimate crafting table. All we need to do is quickly craft up a block of diamond and a block of emerald. Once we have those, our system should be able to do the rest. Start, and oh, we're missing 3. Oh, so wait, register those separately? Excuse me? Oh, that is odd. Okay, of course. So the system didn't know how to make the block of emerald. So the system didn't know that the block of emerald required 9 ender pearls. So it told me that I needed fewer ender pearls than I actually needed, which means I need 3 more emeralds. That should be fine. Let's do another quick check in our Amadron tablet and see if there are any favorable trades here that we can use to get just 3 emeralds. We totally can. We have rotten flesh available to us. Let's drop a few stacks of rotten flesh into the old chest here. Boom and boom. And then from there, let's go ahead and request a couple of these. 4 is fine. And start. And there we go. Okay, so now we should finally have what it takes to get the ultimate crafting table. Next, and we're missing 1 block of diamond, apparently. We needed 2 of those. That's not a problem. We got 58,000 diamonds. You'll love to see it. Ultimate crafting table. 4th time is the charm. Start and start. Nice. Okay, that shouldn't take too long, I don't think. It's a lot of crafts, but our system is pretty fast, and it has a lot of molecular assemblers at its disposal. Let's quickly go and see if we can see any of these doing their work. We can. You can see occasionally something's popping down over there, and there's also stuff popping in over here as well. And there we go. We have our ultimate crafting table. Nice. Now, the Twitch chat has pointed out a fatal flaw in this methodology, and that flaw is that in order to complete the quests here, you have to have each of the crafting tables in your inventory manually. So we have to go ahead and request the basic crafting table and then have that in our inventory. Then we can put it back in the system, request the next one, have that be crafted for us, hold it in our inventory to complete the quest, rinse and repeat that process over and over and over again. The same is true for the black iron slate up here as well. We actually have to have it in our inventory if we want to be able to get credit for completing that quest. And so between streams, I'll go ahead and I'll make some more black iron ingots, and then right at the start of the next episode, we can look at crafting this again, I guess, to get another ultimate crafting table. We might end up with a second unnecessary ultimate crafting table. Not the end of the world, given that we have almost an unlimited amount of all of the resources required. But next time, chat, we'll come back, we'll make the ultimate crafting table again, and then we'll look at getting a quantum compressor. The quantum compressor is going to allow us to make the singularities here. We can then take those singularities and craft them in our new ultimate crafting table to make ultimate singularities. We can also use it to make ultimate ingots, like this one here. We're going to need a few of those to make a few of the creative supply upgrades. And then, as I mentioned before, we can use those to make the creative upgrades and finally finish the pack with the finished program here right at the very end. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Encrypted there.